Not so sure about that. So Fields pointing the finger at coaching yesterday morning. By the afternoon, it was full-fledged damage control time as he met again with reporters, this time briefly in the locker room.
I'm not blaming anything on the coaches. I'm never going to blame anything on the coaches, never going to blame anything on my teammates. I will take whatever happens in the game, I will take all the blame. I don't care if it's a drop pass, it should have been a pass. Put it on me. But never will you hear anything come out of my mouth to where I will blame it on somebody else in this organization, my teammates. Never will you hear that. So I just want to clear that up and just know that, like, I need to play better. That's it, point blank.
Okay, all this on the same day that, oh, by the way, the Bears defensive coordinator resigned 2 weeks into a season. So it feels like just a complete mess in Chicago right now. Dan, go.
He's right. He can't do that. When you're a great leader, you cannot point the finger at some other people. And as a quarterback, there's some things that are nevers. You never blame your teammates, and you never blame your coaches. You go out of your way to take the blame upon yourself, whether it actually is your fault or is not your fault. And I can appreciate Justin kind of trying to make the situation right afterwards, and he's right. We all see it. Anyone who knows football sees it. If you watch this network, I think certainly myself goes out of his way to try to educate the people that it's not just a quarterback issue more often than not, and that there is coaching attached to this stuff. But once you do this, and once you open the jar to this, now it's really difficult when it comes to you and your relationship with your coaches. He's right with him saying that coaching has had an impact on his play this week, and certainly this year. He just publicly cannot say that, and that's the issue.
The term that's been used here, Harry, is paralysis by analysis, that he looks, RG3 was in here the other day, basically showing you that when he's going back, like literally in his drop, it looks like he's just completely out of sync. He's waiting to see what's up there. He just looks completely out of sync, and the term is paralysis by analysis. Is that, at the end of the day, what you see?
Yes, it is, and that's the last thing you want for any of your players on a football team, but especially your quarterback in the quarterback position where he's supposed to lead and be that dynamic player for your offense. And I would say this, we've all played, me, Woody, Dano, so we've been there. Right. When coaches are harping in your ear over and over again, so you get to a point on the football field where you do feel robotic. And there are times where you forget that, you know what, let me just let it rip, or let me just take off and run because there's so much being fed into your head. But I do agree with you, though, Dano. He's 100% right, but I don't know if you can go out and just say it like that in front of everybody.
You can't.
Like,
you can't.
You know what I mean? That's not a good position to be in. And I'll go as far as saying this. I'm at the point now where I would just like to see Justin Fields somewhere else and moving on with his career. Because when I look at certain head coaches and the recent head coaches that have been hired, Dano, when I look at Mike McDaniel and the communication between him and Tua Tagovailoa, that's an offensive-minded head coach. When I look at Brian Dable and what he was able to do with Daniel Jones, a recent hire, and their communication, I like where that's trending. I look at Doug Peterson, what he was able to do with Trevor Lawrence. I look at Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder right now. Now, when the Bears made this hire, and I think Matt Eberflus is a good coach, but when you made this hire and you knew Justin Fields was the centerpiece of everything that you wanted to do, you decided to go defensive minded. And I think the communication, in which I think is very imperative in a quarterback, head coach, quarterback, play callers, dynamics, I think that's very important moving forward. And I think there's a little discourse right now between those guys because Matt Eberflus commented on the things that Justin Fields said. And he was like, we were able to have a conversation recently about that. Well, when you took that job, those conversations should have been had weekly with your franchise quarterback.
So this whole situation, I'm starting to wonder if my biggest fear is going to come true, which is he should not have been drafted by the Bears because of the state of the organization, right? This is a kid that we understood needed some time to be developed. He wasn't going to come right away and be a guy that completely lights it up in the NFL. You go to an organization that is in turmoil. The GM and the head coach who drafted him, there are questions. They shouldn't even have been in position to make that draft pick, right? And now you have a front office that inherited him, and you're looking around and it feels like Justin should be further ahead, but this is the first time he's been in a system for 2 years since college, the same system since college. And now it feels like this is just this. Like the fact that you think like Justin should already be out of Chicago
That's
makes me
shocking to me.
No. But it feels like that because I can tell you, as a reporter, the minute you start blaming coaches, teammates, and the media and what they're trying to do, and you guys are just trying to get the guy, it never ends well. It never ends well, and I hate that for him because Harry, you were mentioning all these coaches, Brian Daboll, like Kyle Shanahan, like coaches where we have seen where you utilize the skill sets. You say, hey, let me look at my QB. What traits, what is he best at? And then devise a system that works on that. And instead it feels like the opposite.
Let me get D. Wood in here, and then I'm going to have to lose my mind. Go ahead.
Oh, boy. We're not even talking about the Jets here.
I go back to last year when Justin Fields, I go back to that Monday night game last year against New England.
Against the Patriots.
Against the Patriots. That is when the coaching staff unleashed him as far as, using the best part of his game, his legs. From that point forward, Justin Fields was on the upward trajectory.
Sure.
Because they utilized that aspect. I have not seen the Chicago Bears this year, in this early season, utilize that aspect of his game.
You know how many design runs they have in 2 games as a quarterback? Design quarterback runs? 5.
In 2 games.
But you know what?
But you know what?
But that's comical.
That's. Go ahead, man.
Wait, here's my question with all that. Because the 5 design quarterback runs, I don't think it's rocket science. Like, we're not the smartest football people in the world. If we know it, they know it. So I think that leads to the question of why. Because there's only a couple of explanations. They don't want to do it. They're scared he's going to get hurt. He's told them, I don't want to be used in that way.
Justin Fields was putting the fear in defenses when they was incorporating that last year.
Sure.
And to not do that this year at all, it's mind-boggling to me. You are ruining the quarterback by not using the best aspect of his game. And now you got a guy who's who's at the podium, frustrated about this whole situation, his playing style, everything he's doing out there on the football field.
We get asked all the time, like, what's the best way to utilize quarterbacks? When you don't utilize Justin, a Josh Allen, a Lamar in some capacity with their legs to kind of correlate it to other sports, it's almost like telling a player like Ja Morant, you cannot go to the rim. And you're minimizing their impact. It's not a black or white thing when it comes to the player. You're not utilizing them to their very best strength. It's the contrast would be for me to say, hey, Mac Jones, we're going to run 8 zone reads with you, and we're not going to allow you to kind of distribute the football. You're not allowing the player to be at his best. But we know that. Justin can't say this. He can't be the leader of that organization. And when I watch that press conference, I look at a guy and I go, there is 0 fun being had playing football.
And when it gets to that point, it starts to trickle down.
Okay, I need to say something, okay? Justin Fields can't blame the organization, but I can. This is a leaderless, rudderless, complete organizational failure. They drafted a kid named Mitch Trubisky in 2017. Their coach at that time didn't believe in him, so they fired him and they brought in Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy came in as the new coach, was not attached to him in any way than the way that John Fox had been previously. Didn't believe in him at all. Wanted to bring in Nick Foles. Absolutely ruined any chance Mitch Trubisky had of being a decent coach, being a decent quarterback. They decide to move on. Instead of getting rid of the coach and starting all over again, they draft Justin Fields, give Matt Nagy 1 more year for no obvious reason when everyone knew he had no chance. Then they fire him. Now they bring in another new coach who has no allegiance to the quarterback and they want to go to another place. So what does that add up to? It adds up in the last 5 years to 2 first-round quarterbacks who came in with a lot of potential and needed good coaching and got none of it. So Justin Fields may or may not have been destined to be a great NFL quarterback, but he's been given absolutely no chance. And if he can't say it because that's a quarterback's unwritten code, someone needs to say it. They are ruining that kid because of complete organizational incompetence. That place is a dumpster fire. I sat there yesterday watching my alerts coming in on my phone, and I couldn't keep up with it. In the span of an hour, 9 different terrible things happened to the Bears organization. This is week 2, and they're playing Pat Mahomes. this weekend, this is a disaster. And so, look, I get that Justin Fields shouldn't say it,
Sure.
but to be completely honest with you, I don't blame him. Everything they're doing is wrong, and only a tiny little bit of it is his fault.
Well, I mean, I think it's way easier for us to sit up here and say Justin can't do that because it's not our careers. That's
what I mean.
Like it's on the line, Greeny. But there's one of two ways that this is going to go. They're playing the defending Super Bowl champion. This is either going to tear apart the locker room, tear apart the building, tear apart the relationship with the quarterback and the play caller, or it's going to galvanize them. And it is going to be one of those, it's us versus everybody type of moments. This is in a short span. They're 0-2. They've given up 25 or more points in 12 straight games on defense. They threw a pick six on the third screen pass called in a game to essentially seal the game on the road versus Tampa Bay. They haven't used the quarterback in the right way. They have 22 drives this year. 14 of those drives, 14, I've accounted with either a sack or a penalty. There's absolutely no shot. He publicly blamed coaching. The defensive coordinator has just resigned. And they got to go try to beat the defending Super Bowl champions.
But I question the relationship between Justin Fields and the play caller because
They
if
have
you're
a
saying,
great. That's the shocking thing about all this, because talking to people in the Bears organization, Justin's like at his house having dinner with him. They are in lockstep.
And I think the coordinator's a good coach.
Yes,
I sat with them last year.
They are in that's why I don't understand how that relationship that is getting better has translated into what we're seeing.
If that coordinator is a good coach, then why in the world has that kid run the ball 5 times in 2 weeks?
That's the question.
but there was no answer. Anyone can come up with the question, what's the answer?
I don't know that, Greeny.
Right.
But that's the most interesting question in Chicago right now. Outside of, like why Justin's playing and overthinking, the question is how that coordinator who used them last year in the last 10 games, he ran like 100 yards a game. He was the leading rusher yards per carry. How that hasn't been used this year, and I honestly believe Bears fans deserve that answer.
All right, I've gotten ridiculously long here. Already in my ear. Tell me what should I do here? Should I go on? Because keep it going. All right, we'll go to 20. So D Wood, no, don't go. Art, say something to me, Artie. In my keep it going. Okay, fair enough. D Wood, I'm sorry, that was on me because we got super late here. But I'm just, you know what? I'm aggravated because we talk about, we always. For some reason, we have these rules that certain things are verboten. At the end of the day, we try to make this stuff sound a lot more complicated than it is. They had a kid who, as D Wood said, was going like this. Now he's gone like that. Is it because he forgot how to play, or is it because they've changed what they're doing around him? Anyone can see this.
It's the answer to that question is more of the latter.
Of course it is.
Coaching has definitely had its
and so,
negative
but
impact.
who's the one whose career is going to get ruined as a result of it? Who's going to be labeled a bust? Who next year is going to be? Who's not going to get his 5th-year option picked up and is going to wind up a backup somewhere else and never going to have the career that he would be a backup in Pittsburgh like Mitch Trubisky
that's why I
is
think
today.
culture is everything. We sat there and watched another young quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, in his first year under Urban Meyer, and we questioned if he had a chance.
Right.
As the #1 overall pick. But you bring in a guy, Doug Peterson, an offensive mind that understands the young quarterbacks. He had Carson Wentz when he was young. He played the game at a high level, and now we see a drastic change. They make the playoffs in the next year. So that's why I think culture and coaching really matters.
Oh, of course it does.
And I understand what you're saying about Luke Getsy, but I'm going to go back to his track record. Who did he coach and who did he develop?
Aaron Rodgers. Well, no development, yes.
That's what I'm saying. But when you're coaching Aaron Rodgers, anybody's going to look phenomenal.
Justin needs to play better as well, though.
100%.
I mean, again,
100%.
You can't hold the
If you
football
ask Mac
16
Jones, you
seconds.
just made the point yourself. If Mac Jones was running the RPO system and everything was going terribly, would you say Mac Jones needs to play better? Or would you say they need to give him plays he's capable of running? They need to do things that play to his strength.
No, Greeny, we won't have a quarterback in the NFL that's playing poorly, that's got an elite offensive mind. And we won't have a quarterback in the NFL that's playing great with a terrible offensive mind. Those things will never happen in the NFL consistently. Right. Yep. I have made it very clear that the play calling is not matching. I said it week 1. If you keep going big play hunting or big game hunting consistently, you'll have the #1 pick next year. Go to week 2 last week versus Tampa Bay. If you go to my Twitter, you'll see very clearly they called the same screen pass 3 times in a row. The spacing on offense is terrible sometimes. But I also show examples of Justin thinking, hesitant, not trusting his eyes. Now, is that a Justin thing or a coaching thing? It's always together. Justin has to play better. It's not just Justin, though.
D Wood, go.
We got a damn defensive-minded head coach.
Can't go to that, though.
Wait, hold on. Let me cook
speak.
right now. Let me cook.
Whew.
That don't know how to coach defense. And we all know defense does play a role in how the quarterback play as well.
Yeah.
When you're constantly playing, from behind and playing catch up, quarterbacks you get anxious and you got to feel like you got to start making plays and all that type of stuff. You already talked about 5 design runs with arguably one of maybe the most athletic quarterback we have in this league in Justin Fields.
Right.
That is coaching malpractice.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching malpractice. So, yes, Justin Fields, is he playing well? Absolutely not. But I always talk about what can you do to get these guys comfortable and get them guys going. We always talk about, how you talk about like drive starters. Coaches always talk about drive starters to kind of get you going and stuff like that. How do you not have RPOs and the quarterback design plays to get your quarterback comfortable and ready to go, and then you build off of that to for him to get going? To not have those plays in the playbook right out of the gate, scripted in the first 10 to 15 plays. Again, that's coaching malpractice.
It makes me think that there's something that we don't know when it comes to that. Because
it's obvious.
Yes.
It's obvious.
Like 5 and 2, there should be 5 a quarter. They should be utilizing. Here's the thing that I kind of push back with whole defensive-minded head coach, because you kind of brought it up, Harry. Lamar Jackson plays for Harbaugh. He's a special teams defensive-minded head coach. You watch the Baltimore Ravens tape right now?
But I will push back on that. Look at the Ravens' culture over the past.
But we can't kill Matt Eberflus right now.
That culture is different than the Chicago Bears.
He's been there for a year.
I'm going way above him. I mean, look, when you are as bad, how is it that organizations just keep ruining quarterbacks, one after another, after another, after another? The last great quarterback they had in Chicago was Sid Luckman. That's not an overt statement. He was old when I was young, and that's the point that I'm trying to make here. These things don't happen accidentally. Kmart, is this going to get better before it gets worse? Are we looking already? They're going to get, if they lose by 30 points this weekend, which they very well may, this thing could splinter. Yes, I have 20 seconds.
I want to say it's too early to say that, but it feels like the inevitable. It feels like Justin is just not in a good situation. He does not look like he is enjoying himself.
Not at all.
And he's in a good situation for him, and that's what worries me.